Hello, everybody, and good evening to you, or afternoon. Not sure which one you want to consider yet. Just want to, anybody that's out there right now, see if you guys can hear me. Just let me know real quick before I ramble on too much here. Just want to make sure the audio is good before we start talking about just a couple of things here. While I'm kind of waiting on that, if you can hear me, we're kind of just tracking a couple of small pop-up storms here this afternoon. A couple of them nearby Champaign County right now, so that's kind of why we're hopping on here. There's no 5:30 newscast tonight due to the golf tournament happening there on CBS, so kind of thought this would be a nice way to just kind of update you guys on what's going on here a little bit. We are, okay, good. Hear you loud and clear from Bloomington. Awesome. All right, so we're just going to kind of zero in on some stuff here, kind of give you the basic overview of what's happening right now. Essentially, you guys have been outside, or if you have been outside today, you've noticed how hot and how muggy it is. There's just enough of that heat and enough of that moisture to where we're just getting some of these kind of summertime-ish pop-up storms, even though it is still springtime here. I actually got one person saying there's no sound. I'm hoping that maybe you just have your device muted there, because it looks like one person can hear me and everything looks like it's showing up okay here. If you guys can't hear me, please just let me know real quick, as I don't have a lot of responses from that. Just want to make sure I'm not talking to a mute screen here, because I definitely don't want any of that. But to continue on here, okay, we're good on the sound. Awesome. To continue on here, we've just had a couple of these pop-up storms here within the last hour or so, and not really anything too crazy or intimidating right now. But you notice how slow these storms are moving. We've got this on an hour loop right now, and it's these storms just aren't hardly going anywhere. There's only one warning, and that is in northern Piatt County right now, just outside of DeLand. And in fact, it's kind of just been right south of you for quite a while. In fact, part of that storm kind of creeping in there just a little bit. I'm going to pause things here for just a moment on the radar and kind of throw up some lightning. You can see some of these lightning strikes. There's not a ton of them. It's frequent enough to where you can tell it's obviously storming outside just a bit. But the big thing with this right now is just, like I said, how slow the storm is moving, and that is causing some impacts in the way of some of that rain. I'm going to hit the info on the severe storm warning here real fast. Hopefully I can get it to pop up here on the screen for you. But essentially, the National Weather Service has issued this warning, and it is moving at a staggering 5 miles an hour to the northeast. Hopefully I can get that pinned up there. That's just kind of some of the info about your storm. Wind speed 60 miles an hour, hail about a quarter size, so kind of some bottom line severe weather stuff, kind of the bottom tier of what's considered a severe storm. But again, the pace, 5 miles an hour to the northeast. This is just kind of sitting still there in northern Piatt County, so it's not really doing too much here at the moment. But it's enough to where if you're underneath it, you are feeling some of its impacts because, well, darn it, it's not going very fast at all. So we're just going to kind of observe a couple things here in this one particular storm real quick, then we'll kind of go around the horn and kind of look at some of the other storms in the area. Again, nothing really wild and crazy out there, but just because we don't have a newscast tonight, just kind of didn't want to leave you guys in the dark here as far as what's going on out there, because some of you that are seeing some of these storms are probably wondering, oh, I didn't know it was supposed to storm today. It really wasn't. We left the chance there about 20 to 30% just in case for some of these to pop up, and sure enough they have. Just kind of zeroing in here on some of the hail sizes. The storm that's actually severe warned has been removed, it looks like. They got rid of the box here for the moment, so it does not appear that there's anything in there. Well, I'm more interested now that that one's kind of disappeared, kind of more interested in the storm off to, I'm actually saying that's still a warning. This hail size thing, I think, just gets rid of those warning boxes. So we're still under a severe thunderstorm warning there in northern Piatt County, northwest Piatt County, but the hail size has kind of come down on that one just a little bit. I'll kind of just hit a question mark box on that real fast, and you'll see, yeah, kind of just that half-inch diameter hail. So nothing crazy as far as hail goes in that one. That one's probably more for the wind speeds at the moment. Look at this, though, just north of Mahomet. I've got some purple on there. I think purple gets you pretty close to 1.5 inches, if not more than that. Yeah, 1.7 inch. So we're kind of talking about that ping pong ball size to maybe that golf ball size too. They're both kind of similar in size. So that one particular storm in northwest Champaign County is probably the only one right now producing some bigger hail, though it looks like there's one in northern Vermilion County that's also producing maybe up to quarter size hail in there as well. Just checking on a couple messages. Jacob's actually sending me a picture of the cell in Mahomet, and that one's actually got a pretty good look to it there. So we'll kind of keep an eye on things. I will throw on the Skycam here in just a moment. I want to show you the radar image again here real quick, just to kind of give you an overview, since I've been staying trained in on just a couple of storms here at the moment. And of course, whatever you are seeing, please feel free to let us know in the comments, so that way we can all kind of stay on top of things together. But yeah, just now that I'm returning back to the radar here, you kind of see all this, see all these paint colors starting to show up here in northern Champaign County. That's indicative of either some really, really heavy rain or some hail tossed in there, probably a combination of both. With the way these storms have just kind of rapidly grown, there's probably lots of moisture in them and lots of rain to work with. And Jacob said he's got a couple of pictures up there in northern Vermilion County. It looks like we switched to our Chicago radar, which is still pretty far away from these storms. But again, notice kind of the pink colors in there, the reds. These storms aren't very organized. If you've noticed that the shape of these aren't particularly something that you would see in a normal kind of severe thunderstorm. There's just enough instability to get these generated, but there's just not a lot of that wind shear, we call it, to kind of keep these storms organized. But I'm definitely kind of keeping an eye on this one up here north of Mahomet. That one is starting to look pretty good, even though it's kind of part of just one little, I'm not really sure what the correct terminology is to call it, just kind of a little bit of a blob here of a storm. But this particular core right here looking pretty good north of Mahomet. So what I'll do, I'll turn on the sky cam here real quick. I'm going to go with the studio camera. I'll look at the stadium camera here first, actually, since it's pointed that direction. See what we can see from there real fast. Looking straight off to the north at the moment. Let's pan it just a little bit to the west and see what we can see there. And we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning. This one now in part of northwest Champaign County. I'm willing to guess that they just warned this one, yes, north of down there. And you can see, once this camera moves over real quick, there's just a slight delay on it. You can see that's your thunderstorm right there. You can see the rain shaft coming there on the right side. And that one not looking too bad here, kind of a high base thing, not a ton of organization to it. But you just saw on radar that there is definitely some hail going down in that one at the moment. Not getting the warning to pop up on my radar over here on the left at the moment. I'm going to take a peek at the one on the actual computer here. There goes the warning. So I'll show you that warning here. That's for parts of, looks like Fisher. Probably included in there is parts of Mahomet as well. Yep, that's correct. So just kind of a little bit of a section there between Mahomet and Rantoul. This one, we'll give it a check here real fast and see how long this one is lasting. This one will go until 5:15, so that one's for about the next 30 minutes or so. This one is currently warned for 60-mile-an-hour winds and also just that quarter-size hail. So watching that here right now as well. We've got two severe warned storms, just to kind of reset things here. One in northern Piatt County near the Deland area, and one kind of between Rantoul and Mahomet. This one more so kind of concerned about the hail risk with it. This one at the moment, even though it's probably pretty windy, the one in northwest Piatt County, probably more concerned about the flash flood potential there with that one, just because it's just stagnant. It's not moving anywhere at all. And this one in Champaign County now, looking at the speed on it, sure doesn't look like it's going very fast either. But this one's going at 4 times the speed. This one's moving at 20 miles an hour to the northeast, which is a lot faster than 5 miles an hour. So not quite as concerned with the flash flooding threat with the one here in Champaign, even though 20 miles an hour is still super slow here. Just kind of taking a look across the area because we're getting these storms to kind of pop up left and right here. Definitely watching a couple there in Vermilion County right now, kind of near the Bismarck, or even up to the Hoopston area over Rossville. Probably some pretty heavy rain right now. We'll loop that, see how fast that's moving. And yeah, that one popped up right over Rossville there for a moment. So these kind of in some open country down here between Bismarck and Potomac. But yeah, these are not moving very fast at all. This is looped over an hour. So if you're seeing cells that are hardly moving there over the course of an hour, you are definitely seeing the risk for some flash flooding with some of these. I'm going to kind of just move things out a little bit here, get a general overview of what's going on. And what I'm going to do real quick, then we'll look at that sky cam here for just a moment. I'm going to put on the just the last 3 hours worth of rainfall totals, because I think some of these storms have lasted longer than an hour, and I have to pick either 1 hour or 3 hours. So we're just going to kind of look and see what the rainfall totals have been since these storms have started. And I'm sure we're going to get maybe even some 2-inch totals in here, if not 3-inch totals. So we'll start with the one that's been out here the longest, that one in northern Piatt County. And that one, yeah, I kind of almost got a yellow color in there. That equates to 3 inches there. So 3 inches in a little over an hour. That is some pretty impressive rainfall rates. Probably likely the same up here in northwestern Champaign County, just outside of Fisher, has picked up 2 inches probably in less than an hour. So the flash flood potential is there. It's on a hyper-local scale. But if you find yourself in one of these storms, there's going to be a lot, and I mean a lot of rain there just kind of puddling up. So be prepared for some of that. All right, we're going to check the sky cam here, see what we can see on some of these storms. Mainly paying attention to the one in northwestern Champaign County, because that's the one we can see here the best. I'm going to point the studio camera off to the west to see if we can get that one in northern Piatt County as well. Just kind of checking through some things here on the phone, making sure we're not missing any kind of notifications here. Looks like we're good at the moment. And of course, wherever you're at in the chat, whatever you're seeing, please let us know. Noticed a couple of people said, looks like Kara and Deland said there's some pea-sized hail out that direction. Somebody said, yes, Kristen said Hoopston is currently getting nailed, and we saw that there with some of those storms out that direction. So I'm currently working on facing my studio camera the correct direction. I got to get myself oriented here, but you're looking at the Memorial Stadium camera for a storm in northwest Champaign County, just north of Mahomet. Not quite to Fisher, but just kind of outside it there at the moment. And let's see, I'm looking south now on this one. So I want to be looking just off to the west, if not a little northwest for this other one. So this is the storm in northwestern Champaign County right now. That'll be up there towards the Fisher area, kind of north of Mahomet, just outside of Rantoul as well. Now I'm going to turn and look at the storm to the west near Deland, which I think is no longer severe warned, if I'm not mistaken. We just hit 445, so we'll see if they extend that. But we are now looking at that storm off to the west. We were just about to there if I didn't put that one on max 1 on accident. So now we're looking off to the west. This one kind of a little flatter. This would be the one that's out there in northwest Piatt County. And it doesn't look like there's anything we can tell too badly on the structure on that one for now. There's also a little cell kind of popping up near the Tolono area. So I think I'm going to pivot the studio camera that direction just a little bit to see what we can see on that one. Also checking your comments out here. Joseph says absolutely nothing on the northeast side of Rantoul, which funny enough, Rantoul is not that far away from any of these storms. That just goes to show you right there. Someone in northeast Rantoul seeing nothing. Someone in northern Mahomet probably seeing some pretty impressive hail and maybe even have 2 or 3 inches in their rain gauge right now. So that's just kind of the nature of these these hyper-local storms, and that's just kind of the way these pop-up storms work. They hardly get anybody, but those that do get it either feel really lucky or unlucky, depending on which one you actually prefer. Yeah, this one down towards Tolono, not looking particularly interesting. You can see the rain shaft coming down on it. But the storm itself just kind of looks a little flat, a little fuzzy. Of course, that one hasn't been around for too long yet, so that one could definitely gain in a little bit of strength, but it looks like it's a little flat at the moment. So I'm going to turn the camera back to the... Okay, getting on my warnings here to update, so let's throw the radar picture back on there real quick and just kind of refresh on a few things. I think we might be down to 1 severe thunderstorm warning. That would be correct. So we're just to that one in northwestern Champaign County now, just north of Mahomet and just south of Fisher as well. Kind of, I say, heading towards Thomasboro and Rantoul. You can kind of see based on the way we're moving here that things are pretty stationary, but eventually going to get out that direction, although it may take over half an hour just to make a little bit of that distance. We are only about 6 or 7 miles away from Thomasboro, but if you're traveling at 20 miles an hour, it's going to take its time getting there. So just kind of reset based on location here. We're just looking in northwestern Champaign County for a severe warned storm. This one warned for pretty low-level severe thunderstorm warning criteria, the 60-mile-an-hour winds, the quarter-size hail. You need one or the other there to get a severe thunderstorm. We have both, but it's not too big of an impactful thing here right now, aside from the fact that it's hardly moving, and those that are feeling it for quite some time now. Joshua says he drove down Route 10 through Deland, and it was a whiteout with all the rain and wind, and that's probably how things are going to be here for a little bit. Just sitting in one spot, probably can't see through that whatsoever there. Paula in northeast of Mahomet says they are getting a little sprinkle and thunder every now and then. Let's check in on the stuff kind of in Vermilion County. Don't want to let you guys be forgotten here. Trying to keep track of the main storms that we hop down here for, but there's obviously some more action going on here across the area. Bismarck probably going to get a bit of a storm here before too long too. That's just off to your west, probably actually entering town right now. We got one cell just south of Hoopston. If you live in the rural portions of Hoopston there just outside of town, you're probably getting the brunt of these storms at the moment too. I'm going to toss on the lightning here so you can see how intense some of these storms are. That one near Bismarck actually isn't picking up any lightning, so that might just be a pretty intense shower there. But the one south of Hoopston definitely got some lightning there on that one, and kind of hooking a little bit up there to the north. Got some really random movement on these storms. They're kind of hard to exactly know where they're going to be heading just because there's no dominant winds anywhere in the atmosphere, so these are just kind of floating around, kind of letting whatever take control of them here. So let's pop in again. Let's look at our sky cam one more time here. It's going to start on the studio camera looking south, but we're going to switch it to Memorial Stadium and look to our northwest. And I'll actually bring this full screen for just a moment, just so you can see it a little better. I know this monitor brings things up pretty good, but this will eliminate any kind of light contrast there. And we can see, yep, there's that storm there in the northwest part of Champaign County. Still plenty of rain there on that one. There's lots of that rain shaft. That's pretty easy to see on that storm. Again, this is from Memorial Stadium looking to the northwest on that only severe warned storm in the area. I will pop up the velocity imagery here real fast. We'll kind of look in on some of that. I don't think we'll see anything too super fascinating, but we'll go ahead and do that real quick. This is, of course, from our Lincoln radar, which is some distance away, so gives us a little look up in the atmosphere. But yeah, things just kind of looking a little flat there. We didn't expect kind of big time rotation with any of these storms, but never hurts to kind of check and look in on some of these. So chances are, if you're just now kind of jumping in, chances are you're not seeing storms anywhere. I know the title would probably seem somewhat misleading, saying Sunday evening storms. There's not a lot of them out there, but there's enough to kind of warrant jumping on here for the moment, simply based on location too, just outside of Champaign. And to be honest, that one near Deland is kind of coming down a little bit. You saw some of the pink that was popping up there on that storm, now kind of just flattening out a little bit. May have kind of gusted itself out just to a degree there, just a little more kind of the orange and yellow as opposed to the reds and pinks. So the dominant storm at the moment in the area is now this one just south of Fisher, outside of Mahomet. Soon to enter the Rantoul and Thomasboro area, probably just getting a little light shower for now. But be prepared for that one to move in eventually. And yes, it'll get windy, might knock a few things over. Yes, there might be quarter-size hail that might chip a few things outside. But like I said, I think the biggest thing right now is the heavy rain and the steady rain. I'll put on the 3-hour rainfall totals once more here just so we can see all of our storms, what they've been producing from a rainfall perspective. I'll just kind of toss one on every storm that I see. There's even one out there in eastern Menard County, it looks like. That one's piled up 2 inches or more in the span of a little over an hour. The one in Deland there, oh man, 4 inches on that one. So there is plenty of rain. That one's kind of maintained its shape pretty good over the last hour up until just recently, so no surprise there. Nearly 2 inches just outside of Mahomet on the north side there. And south of Hoopston, around 1.5 inches. And keep in mind, this is essentially your 1-hour rainfall rate because these storms haven't been around that long. So we've got storms capable of 2 inches of rain per hour, maybe even around 3 inches per hour based on that one in northern Piatt County. So lots and lots of rain, but as a whole, I'd say about 95% of the area is staying dry here. So it's just one of those weird situations where if you're getting the rain, you're getting tons of it. If you're not getting it, then you're probably in the majority there without any shred of doubt. So this storm in northern Champaign County is still warned for the next 23 minutes, I believe. So that'll be the one we're kind of paying attention to here for a little bit. Again, if you're just now joining us, here's the situation. There's a few pop-up storms in the area. There's not much overall. The coverage is very minimal. But just wanted to hop on here and kind of walk you through some of the things that we're seeing. There is no 5:30 newscast tonight with golf on CBS, so just wanted to bring an update here where we could, since we have the time to afford it there. But yes, mainly kind of sticking in Champaign and Vermilion County here at the moment, with a couple of storms here and there. There's kind of one down there in Douglas County, just outside of the Arcola-Tuscola area, probably closer to even the Newman area. I'm going to also look at this storm north of Springfield here in a minute. I'll get this one popped up on the camera in just a moment, but we'll center the radar there where I work on that. Again, just kind of let us know what you're seeing out there, if you're seeing anything impactful at the moment. Seeing lots of reports of kind of that pea-size hail, also reports of things quiet where they are, but maybe not quite as quiet, just off to a certain direction from where they are. And that's probably the case for a lot of us. A lot of these storms are either just outside of town or in some rural areas. So not exactly taking direct hits anywhere just yet, but maybe moments from doing that here in a little bit. So let's pop up the Skycam here and we'll return to me on screen just so I can point a couple things out. I should be having the Springfield camera point to the north now, looking at that storm just up I-55, and you can see here's kind of the base of your storm where you kind of see the horizon disappear. That's where that rain is right now. Again, this one not severe warned, but the same situation as all these other storms. It's dumping a lot of rain, it's dumping it constantly, and it's hardly moving at all. I mean, storm speeds between 10 and 20 miles an hour, and that is just absolutely nothing as far as the activity is concerned. For anyone wondering, these would probably go on, for the next couple of hours because it's still hot outside. It's still 90-some degrees in some spots, and as long as you keep that hot air in place, as long as you keep the moisture in place, there's enough ingredients for these storms to kind of just survive for a little while. I'm going to pop up just the temperatures here real quick, and we'll look at them to see how hot and sticky it is outside. Yeah, look at these 89s across the board, 90s. You notice it's kind of turning a little yellow here north of Champaign. That's where that rain-cooled air is starting to bring things back down a little bit. And just a peek at our dew points here real quick, then we'll go back to radar coverage. You can see a good amount of moisture, not crazy, kind of these yellow-orange colors. That's when it's getting a little humid, but these numbers aren't going away anytime soon. There's not some big front that's going to come through and wipe away those hot temperatures right now, or wipe away those dew points. So we can expect these storms kind of to sustain themselves for a little bit. Maybe they'll kind of pulse down, pulse back up, be a little sporadic in that nature, but they're probably not going anywhere as far as there's going to be a couple here in the area for the next several hours or so. Take a look at lightning. You can see this one by D-Land has definitely come down a little bit. There's not quite as frequent lightning, but there's one just outside Farmer City now. It's starting to pick up a little bit on that lightning intensity. Even the one just outside of Mahomet, get ready, enter Rantoul has come down as far as lightning just a little bit. Of course, lightning's not the only part of the storm, but it does kind of indicate how a storm is holding up for the most part. I'd say our most electric storm is just outside the area over there into Indiana country, kind of just outside Fowler and parts of northwestern Indiana. So that's obviously outside of our jurisdiction here. But Hoopeston and Bismarck probably getting a bit of a light show right now. I'm not entirely sure which direction my Danville camera looks at. Let me peek in on that one real quick and see if I'm checking anything out. Let's see, just looking at it from my monitor here. Yeah, not seeing too much craziness on that one, so I wish I kind of had a better view of what's going on. But I know there's someone in Hoopeston or just outside of Hoopeston that's seeing what's going on there. You're probably getting rocked to an extent, probably getting a little bit windy and having some of that rain pour down, probably just a low visibility situation right now. I'm just kind of zooming out to make sure we're not missing anything. Again, there's that one tiny storm just outside of the Hinesboro area, just kind of northwest of Oakland. That one's kind of, again, pretty minimal in intensity. It's just kind of sitting there stalling out a little bit. We'll go back to the Memorial Stadium sky camera and check out what's heading that direction. There's your Danville camera. Again, not seeing too much on that one anywhere. We'll flip to Memorial Stadium here, and I'll bring this one full screen again because I feel like you can just see the colors way better when it's full screen compared to on my monitor back here. And we'll turn this one just a little bit. Don't have to turn it too much because it's been steadily, slowly but steadily marching just off to the north and east. So I'll pan it here in just a moment. Now we're starting to get to move a little bit. And you can see the rain shaft is definitely concentrated in just one tiny spot there. That's not a very wide rain shaft whatsoever, but that storm kind of sustaining itself just a little bit and is still the only severe warned storm in the area. That's why we're continuing to cover some stuff here for you this evening. So now we will take a look once again at our, actually what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pull up our future track and just kind of let you see what's going to happen here for the rest of the nights and nights, because I'm sure a lot of you are curious how long these are going to kind of hold up. So we'll do that real quick. Again, these rapid refresh future tracks, they do a pretty good job of kind of signaling what's going to happen, but maybe not pinpointing exactly where it's going to happen. This one is obviously wrong. It doesn't have any storms in Champaign, doesn't have any storms in Vermilion County, but it gets the idea across. It knows some of those pop-up storms are going to happen, so we're kind of just using this more so to tell you how long these are going to last as opposed to where exactly they're going to be. So you can see the timer right up there as we go through the evening. These things will be able to sustain themselves for periods of time. They'll kind of pulse up, they'll kind of pulse down, but look at that. At 7 o'clock, 2 hours from now, we're still dealing with a few of these same strength storms. Eventually, they are going to come down in strength, but that probably is going to wait till after sunset. So maybe by our 9 or 10 p.m. newscast, we're still seeing a few of those showers and storms before finally, when the sun sets, we kind of take away their source, kind of take away their fuel, and finally get them to fizzle out. But it'll be something we deal with here for the next couple of hours, the way it looks. Going to look again at our hail sizes, at least our radar indicated hail sizes, and just kind of check out if we're seeing anything big there, because I'm starting to see a few people mention where they're seeing some hail. Looks like Carissa had some hail in Gifford not too long ago. Hopefully this is populating here. It is. It's just really small. You see some of these dark gray colors. Maybe you can kind of, yeah, you can tell that based on that screen there. You can see some of these dark gray colors. That's some of your smaller hail, so probably not as much of a concern anymore as far as large hail. There's probably lots of pea-size hail within some of these storms. That even spans into this one there in Douglas County, just a tiny little gray dot right there, right outside of Hugo even. And definitely some hail on this one in Menard County, just outside of Culver there. I'll drop a pin on that one just to see. Probably 3/4 of an inch, if that, yeah, 0.8 inches there. So just under quarter size, just under severe limits there. So not seeing any kind of craziness as far as large hail is concerned. So because of that, we'll flip back to regular radar here and just going to watch things play out. Again, hopped on here because we had kind of some time to do so. Not that there's anything urgent or any kind of big time life-threatening storms out there. There are some pretty noisy ones that I'm sure people were a little curious about. So we're just kind of talking about those, what their impacts are. And if you've been here a little while, you know the highest impacts at the moment are is the chance for some of those locally heavy downpours, maybe some flash flooding here possible depending on how long some of these storms kind of hang around. Ed says between Mahomet and Fisher, just had a 15-minute dime-sized hailstorm. Yeah, so you're definitely going to have a case where these stronger storms probably going to drop maybe some small hail, but if it's storming right over your house, you know how loud the sound of hail is on your roof. You could hear that for a little while. Thank goodness it's not any larger hail, or else we'd have a serious localized issue of just having, you know, quarter-size hail just kind of pounding on someone's car, or even bigger size hail pounding on someone's roof. That would be a real bad situation. Thankfully, the hail sizes, as you just saw earlier, are not out of this world or crazy by any means. So keeping things pretty well located north of I-72. Outside of that one in Douglas County, I don't think there's much going on south of the area, so we're kind of just restricting things up here to the north. Really in Champaign and Piatt counties where the action's happening, and northern Vermilion County. We'll toss the lightning back on here, and you'll be able to see how some of these storms are progressing along. This one in Champaign County is just going so slow right now. This thing is just not moving at all. Maybe finally starting to get a little bit of steam. It's become less of a line and more of just an actual cell there. Kind of looks like it's wanting to push a little off to the east, so maybe parts of northern Rantoul might get away without too much on this one, but if you kind of live on the south part of town, there definitely looks like you're going to get quite a bit of rain and maybe a little bit of that small hail here before a matter of time. Definitely had that come through Fisher for just a second, but kind of looks like it intensified after it got through town there, so that's good that we didn't have to deal too badly with that. I'm going to check in again on the one out here in northern Vermilion County, south of Hoopeston, through parts of Rossville right now. Anyone in Rossville in the chat, if there is anyone out there, just come let me know what you're seeing, because that one looks like it's been directly overhead for about an hour now, maybe a brief break here and there, but that one probably getting tons and tons of rain. I've got one person that says, Brad here, that says power line down on Main Street in Gifford. So we are seeing a couple of reports now of just a little bit of that damage happening on a hyper local scale, without a doubt, but enough to definitely kind of rattle the people that are actually there in the area. Just checking a couple things here on the side computer, making sure we're not missing anything. Okay, good there. But yeah, anyone kind of seeing any of these little tiny storms are having decent impacts just on a kind of localized scale. And there's that Gifford storm there that we just heard. There was power line down on Main Street in town. This one's just been kind of steadily north of town there throughout it just a little bit. So again, a down power line. That was, I believe that was that Ed that said that? I want to make sure I give credit where credit's due here. That was Ed that talked about the hail earlier. Brad was the one that talked about the power line down there in Gifford. Kristen and Hoopeston. Hoopeston right near Rossville. We are getting nailed. Wind, small hail, and lots of thunder. That'd be in Rossville. So that's the status on that. Getting a couple buzzes on my phone here, thinking maybe we're updating some warnings. Nope, just a couple of buddies chatting there. I'm going to put on the velocity image. I saw one person ask about that just briefly. Not too worried about anything as far as rotation on any storms. The best looking one so far as impacts, just outside of Fisher, the kind of the Bermuda Triangle here between Fisher, Thomasboro, Rantoul. That one you just see all red, maybe a hint of green in there, not a lot of rotation. If it is, it's pretty broad. This one in Vermilion County might be hard to see because we're kind of far from the nearest radar. But again, maybe things are looking just a little, maybe we're rotating just a little bit, but probably not too much in the way of that. And it really wasn't the kind of day for that because we do not have very much in the way of wind activity in the upper atmosphere at all. And this one in Menard County, again, seeing some of the brighter greens there for a moment, but nothing too crazy as far as rotation in any of these storms. Just about as expected. We knew there was going to be enough to have these storms pulse up, but maybe not sustain themselves, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Paul asking about Danville. I think Danville's good for the moment. I don't think there's any imminent threat there. There's really, I don't think, any imminent threat in any of the main towns in the area. And by main towns, I'm kind of referring to Danville, Champaign, Springfield itself, Decatur. It just looks like these are kind of floating off in the distance. I do want to check in again on the sky cam here in just a moment. This storm north of Champaign, just getting ready to enter Rantoul. The actual core itself kind of flattening out, maybe giving way to a couple more pulses off to the east of it, those that have crossed Illinois 45 and Interstate 57. So we'll take the sky cam there, make sure we take the right one. We'll go to the Memorial Stadium camera again. And we will see, once I get that pulled up here, we'll see what we can see here on that one. See if we can make any kind of mark out. Might need to point this one just a little more to the north, but there's your rain right there in the middle. You can kind of see that right there. We'll aim it just a little bit, but I wouldn't be too shocked if that's what it looks like, because it has kind of come down just slightly. No more comments on there. Yeah, kind of moving things around here. You can start to see some more of those pulses. Like I said, that main storm that's actually severe warned off to the west of Rantoul there, that looked like it was getting ready to enter town. That's kind of what you're seeing out that direction. Maybe these ones out ahead of it to the east are ones to pay a little more attention to at the moment, just because it looks like they might be kind of taking over a little bit. But even those don't look terrific. You can kind of see some of the rain coming down, maybe some of that rain not even reaching the surface there in a couple of those. But pretty neat view there. It's kind of neat to see that rain actually come down some of these storms. We'll bring it full screen so you can see the color a little better, but that's what's neat about seeing storms from a distance. If it's not raining on you, you get a pretty good view of the actual structure of the storms, what little structure there actually is on these storms. But you can see the rain falling down there. Pretty neat view from the Memorial Stadium camera on those storms in northern Champaign County, just outside of Rantoul, probably on either side of Rantoul right now. Right in the middle where those rain shafts are is probably where town itself is, so you might be dodging a bullet here just a little bit. So yeah, you can see things kind of going right around town. Probably got in on the action there. I'll bring myself back on screen. Probably got in on the action as this cell started to develop, so probably some pretty heavy rain there. We'll kind of shift around, look at some of the other storms here. Again, this one in Vermilion County starting to kind of congeal all into one here in a moment. Starting to see some of that pink pop back up north of Bismarck, probably a little more hail in that one. Wouldn't be too terribly surprised if, just kind of looking at the way things are going, this warning in Champaign County might expire here in 8 minutes when it's set to anyway. It might continue for the new ones kind of pulsing up east of it. Not entirely sure how mature those are just yet. But I'm kind of watching this one now in northern Vermilion County for maybe the next best chance at having a storm get warned. Let's see. So no extra comments there at the moment. If you're seeing anything, feel free to let us know. Let us know where you are. Let us know what you're seeing here as we kind of track through some of this stuff together. Not many people seeing anything. For anyone just now kind of tuning in or that has been kind of sitting here listening to me ramble here for a little bit, places like Effingham, Mattoon, even down into parts of Vandalia, Decatur, Shelbyville. If you're from any of those areas, there is zero threat here right now. There is nothing south of I-72 to worry about. Mattoon, Charleston, Paris, none of those places really have anything to worry about. This is all north of I-72. Really, Decatur itself, there's not much going on. There's just a couple of storms outside. Champaign itself, fine for the moment, because this one off to the west is just, it must have hit a force field or something. It's just completely stationary almost. Lots of rain out there. New pulse coming up on the county line just south of 72 there. Let's kind of zoom on in and see what's going on in that one. Just east of Monticello, a little bit of pink popping up in that one. So we'll kind of watch that one as it tracks into town. That might be kind of a south part of town issue for Champaign eventually. This one tracks down, might even impact parts of Tolona or actually get the Willard Airport itself, which would be kind of neat because then I could see the exact measurements as that one goes on through. But the threat on these storms overall is pretty low as far as any kind of classic severe weather impacts that you think of. Tornado threat is almost zero, not completely zero, but almost zero. The wind threat's there, super local. The hail threat has been up and down, overall pretty low, but it's the rain threat. It's the heavy rain and the just kind of the training of these storms that's kind of what we need to pay attention to the most. I'll put once again our rainfall totals on here. And this storm in D-Land, this one, I wouldn't be surprised if that's getting close to 5 inches at this point. We'll kind of click in on that one. 4.2 inches. It says 3-hour rainfall totals, but these storms have not been around for much more than 2 hours. So we're talking about 2-inch per hour rainfall rates on that storm alone. That's the highest without a doubt, but all of these storms in general are just, what I'll do here, actually, I'll just put it on the 1-hour rainfall totals. This isn't the totals for the entire life of the storm, but it's just the total within the last hour. And that's probably still going to say, yeah, close to 3 inches there in northern Piatt County. So rainfall rates looking pretty good on these, however local they are. Out there east of Fisher, kind of the rural area, parts of Dewey, parts of Condit there, probably lots of that rain just kind of puddling up here, and that is that's no good. We've been talking a lot lately about wanting to get farmers back in the fields. We've had good dry time from about I want to say Friday mid-morning to just about now. We'd had some pretty good dry time to maybe get some work done out there. But unfortunately for anybody that's kind of getting in on the action on these storms is unfortunately getting a big washout here. So definitely a little concerned about that. It's unfortunate because we knew these storms were coming. Couldn't exactly tell where exactly they were going to be because that's just the nature of pop-up storms. So anybody that wanted to get out there and just kind of ran into a surprise, it's a little bit of a surprise to us too when these just kind of pop up out of nowhere and you don't really know the behavior of it just because there's no dominant system producing these. It's just so hot and so muggy that's why we are having things pop up the way that they are. So we're looking northeast of Champaign from the Memorial Stadium camera. This one will just be to the east of Rantoul there. You can see the rain shaft looking a lot wider there, so much heavier rain on these storms. You can see the high base. You can see things not too turbulent there at the base of the storms like you would ordinarily see on some actual organized severe storms. So not too worried about anything as far as these becoming way more intense than what they are. They're just kind of at the level that they are at. And kind of wavering up and down just a little bit, kind of that up and down pulse to a degree, but nothing out of control or nothing that we can't completely handle here. I'm going to freeze the radar. We'll just kind of walk around, explore some stuff here. This storm definitely going to drop the warning on that one, I would think anyway. I'm not in charge of doing that, of course, but probably going to drop the warning on that. Probably not enough to warn these ones in Thomasboro and Rantoul. Probably some heavy rain, probably some gusty conditions, but I'm not expecting anything to result from there. If we were to get a severe warned storm, Bismarck, Potomac, Rossville, kind of in that little region, probably for, back up here, get the Lincoln radar, maybe for just a little bit of hail. We're looking way up on the Lincoln radar here in this one, so this is way up in the atmosphere. But you need some of these higher reflectivities, we call them, these darker colors in the core of the storm to keep it strong, so that way lower in the storm it sustains itself there. So seeing some of that pink pop up tells me either heavy rain or some quarter-size hail, probably a little bit of both. But anyway, kind of got sidetracked there. This is in northern Vermilion County. Wouldn't be shocked if there's a warning drawn up on one of these here at some point. Which one in particular, if they just put a box on all that, not entirely sure, but they may just kind of leave it alone here. This one, outside of the one that was moving east of Fisher there for a little bit, that one has come down. The parent storm itself has, or at least the initial storm, we'll call it. A couple pulses now popping up across Thomasboro and Rantoul, now crossing over Route 45 there. If this one, this current warning, that's going to expire in about 60 seconds. Once that one goes, I think we'll probably be severe storm 3 here for just a moment, which doesn't mean that will completely wrap up here. But this was this is just kind of a check-in of stuff. This isn't obviously anything wild and crazy that warrants wall-to-wall coverage by any means. We definitely want to kind of walk you through some of the stuff and make sure that you're getting the information that you need, because those that are seeing these storms are getting lots and lots of rain and probably are not too appreciative of that, considering that I know some summer lovers out there were probably having a good time in the nice hot weather, maybe even sitting outside in the lawn chair getting a tan, and then all of a sudden their parade was rained on. Checking in here on some of our lightning. again, that's why it's always a good idea to kind of check on the lightning of these storms too, because this thing outside of Thomasboro and Rantoul isn't producing a lot of it, so probably not going to really get too much in the way of severe potential if you're not getting too much lightning there in your storm. The thing north of Springfield has pretty much gone down. Again, outside of that outside of that cluster in northern Vermilion County, there's not really too much true organization to any of these storms right now. Maybe that one kind of on the DeWitt and Piatt County line there is kind of holding itself together a little bit. Kind of like the storm that was the beginning of all this, the first severe warning storm, has kind of come up and down a little bit. That one stayed alive the longest without a doubt, but obviously not looking super impressive. Just kind of checking some comments. Anita says, high winds, heavy rain, and hail in Hoopeston right now. I can definitely confirm that looking at your radar here. There is, we'll loop this for the last hour. Yeah, even parts of anyone living between Hoopeston and Rossville has seen quite a bit of rain in the last hour. In fact, just kind of right there in the middle, you're probably seeing over 2, maybe even 3 inches of rain here in the last hour or so. We are checking in on any kind of National Weather Service updates. A lot of these are these special weather statements. Maybe you're getting those. I do believe you get those notified if you have. I don't believe it's a thing on our app, but if you have like the Weather Channel app that sends alerts, it may say special weather statement for where you live. And that's basically just a notification they give you if there's a storm that's not severe, but it's close to severe. For example, might have 50-mile-an-hour winds, might have a nickel-size hail. That's the kind of thing that you're getting a notification for, which means it's kind of a severe storm. It's noisier than just a shower, obviously, but not quite to that severe warned storm status. And just got that there for a couple of these storms, again, in Vermilion County, parts of Champaign County, even into Piatt. Jennifer asking for a couple updates there on the northern Vermilion County storms. As far as intensity goes, like I said about 2 or 3 minutes ago, you're starting to see some of the pinks pop up there within the last hour. I'm going to go ahead and freeze this that way. I'm talking about current stuff here. Starting to see some of the pink pop up back in the picture. The lightning is still holding itself together pretty good. Anyone between Bismarck and Hoopeston, be prepared for rain for the next at least hour. I probably want to say probably longer than that, just with how slow these storms are moving, unless they come down in intensity a little bit, which doesn't look like it's happening right now. And then between Bismarck, even parts of Potomac, probably get in store for some torrential downpours here for a little bit of time. There's going to be a lot of rain. There might be some puddles all across the fields here in the next hour or so there in northern Vermilion County if it's not already happening. But yes, that is the one that's kind of holding its ground the best. As I kind of thought, this one now moving east to Rantoul is starting to gain a little bit of strength. You can start to see the lightning coming up on that one a little bit of that core outside of Rantoul. So that one kind of moving up a little bit. Just kind of keeping an eye on some of these out here outside of Farmer City. The one just outside of D-Land. Anywhere in D-Land's probably getting a ton of rain. Anybody actually in town has probably had rain for the last 2 hours or so. So a little concerned about that, wanting to make sure that everything's okay there. I do want to pass along some damage reports that the National Weather Service is getting in. Not anything significant here, but just some stuff to report. Lake of the Woods, 3 miles north of Lake of the Woods. Looks like there was a tree limb broken. I'm not hearing anything about the size of that tree limb, but I'd have to think it's more than just a twig breaking off the tree. And there was a report of close to nickel-size hail also in Lake of the Woods, so that same storm. Aside from that, been somewhat damage-free. I know someone in the chat, I believe Brad was the name, said that there was a power line down in the Gifford area. So that's kind of the only reports we have at the moment. Didn't expect today to be a big damage day. And if you were watching this morning, the newscast this morning at 7 a.m., or have watched any time throughout the weekend, I didn't say anything about severe weather today, and that doesn't mean it couldn't happen. It's just such a low chance that we didn't want to alarm anybody saying, hey, there's going to be severe storms here. There wasn't enough for that risk by the Storm Prediction Center. It's just going to be so local in nature. We may not have another severe thunderstorm warning for the rest of the evening, but we'll be kind of close to that threshold here for at least the next couple of hours. Like I said, those special weather statements might come on your phone here to just kind of warn of strong thunderstorms about to enter, parts of Rossville or Hoopeston, blah, blah, blah. You might see a couple of those here over the next couple of hours. But as far as severe storms go, Little surprised we had a couple warnings there just because the atmosphere isn't really primed for any kind of big sustainability. Yes, the storm can really pulse up really fast since there's all this heat, there's all this moisture, but once it's formed itself together, it needs some organization so that way it doesn't rain into itself, and there's none of that organization. These storms are just kind of raining straight into their base and kind of flattening out. To a degree, some of them are doing it more quickly than others. This one in northern Vermilion County has definitely not come down much within the last couple of hours. And that reminds me again, we will look at our, let's check the hail sizes first, make sure there's not anything big going on in any of these storms. Kind of got some white there, kind of looking for any kind of white or blue colors across the area. Not seeing anything other than right there, just outside of the Bismarck and Henning area. So I'll drop one on this, probably 0.8, I believe, was what the white color was last check. Yeah, so kind of getting close to that quarter size hail, but not quite. So that's kind of the thing that triggers your special weather statement there, and is enough to warrant paying attention to these storms. Very little impacts. I mean, nickel-sized hail isn't going to do too much to anything. It might chip a couple of delicate outdoor decorations, but really not anything to worry about too badly there. I'm going to pull up here my rainfall totals. Now we've got some flood advisories coming out. Let me kind of check in on those. Flood advisory for Iroquois County and Ford County until 8 p.m. So we'll be watching that. That's just a result of these storms moving so slowly. That first warning that we had in Piatt County was literally warned for moving northeast at 5 miles an hour. That is a storm that is absolutely crawling, but that leads to this. You see that orange color there just south of D-Land. Let's drop a pin in there. This might be 5 inches. I think orange might be 5 inches, and it's exactly 5 inches. So in the last 3 hours, I think the storm had been alive for about 2 hours. Got that 2.5 inch rainfall right there per hour. So that is a lot of rain. Considering that 95% of us have been dry today, somebody ended up with 5 inches of rain there. So that is completely wild. Yeah, that is a bad deal for anybody that deals with that. Rain most times is a pretty good thing to have, but we've been getting a little too much of it so far this season, and it's not been at an ideal time either. We want to get farmers out there in the fields to kind of get their fields ready, if not completely start the planting process, because that time of year is already here. We're in mid to late May, and likely are going to need to have some dry weather here soon in order to actually have a chance at getting the crops in there at a good time and kind of keep things on schedule. Didn't mean to mark the US 136 there, but those are some of your rainfall totals in the last 3 hours or so. Again, 2+ inches in a lot of those spots, and it's only going to continue to go up, especially those ones in Vermilion County. Those are likely going to reach 3+ inches here before too long with the way those are operating here. I don't want to take up too much extra time on here, not that I'm interrupting anything. Chances are if you're on here listening, you're just kind of curious about the way things are going here. But still got a couple of things we need to take care of here in the studio as we head into the evening here, just kind of look at some forecast stuff. But actively, I'd say the thing to continue to watch, we'll kind of stay here for a little bit on this storm in northern Vermilion County, because that's really the one that is of the highest concern here at the moment, just for how much it's raining there. I mean, Bismarck, Rossville, Hoopeston getting a lot of rain. Potomac area just kind of buried right there in the middle of it. So just watching that mess as it kind of congeals itself together, that's the thing to watch here over the next 1 to 2 hours, of just how slow that storm is moving. We'll take a look again at our Memorial Stadium camera and point things off a little more to our east. Again, kind of getting out of the, getting a little bit out of the range of seeing this storm with much detail. You can still see lots of rain there in the distance, but things are pretty flat there as far as the structure is concerned. So that's kind of the plan here right now, is to just kind of watch things over the next 5 or so minutes, kind of continue to monitor things in Vermilion County. As far as severe warnings go, there's none out there right now. I just want to give a brief overview here. We've had pop-up storms, kind of all up and down I-72 from Springfield, even all the way out to Danville. Plenty of dry spaces in between. But of note, D-Land has had quite a bit of rain, maybe up to 5 inches here in the last couple of hours. Parts of northern Vermilion County, Rossville, parts of Bismarck, parts of Hoopeston, getting lots of rain here too, parts of Potomac as well. And they are probably on their way to maybe nearly equal what they saw in Piatt County. They might be heading towards 3+ inches here before too long. The stuff in Champaign has certainly calmed down a little bit here. Just want to take a look at a few more of my products here on the side computer to make sure we're not missing anything in the area. And it looks like, believe it or not, my radar over here is lagging behind a little bit, so that's not even current stuff. But certainly just from the eye test here on the radar, it doesn't look like there's anything wild and crazy out there. We look at our velocity product, kind of tells us a little bit of how organized these storms are from a wind structure perspective. Again, our radar located in Lincoln, that's why you see that little dome, that's where you see the sweep happening. Lincoln is a long way away from Danville and Bismarck and Hoopeston, but it's picking up maybe a little bit of that upper level, kind of broad rotation. That's some very light green. There's some pretty dark red in there, which is indicative of that not very strong winds, but maybe something's trying to hold itself together a little bit. But on all of these storms, you're just seeing kind of one color, and that one color suggests that there's not a lot of organization to these storms, and that they're not going to really just catch you by surprise and jump up and all of a sudden start rapidly rotating and produce anything much stronger than what you're seeing right now. So we'll keep an eye on the storm here in northern Vermilion County for the next 5 or 10 minutes or so. Like I said, we've kind of got some stuff going on here in the studio. Even though we don't have a newscast, we still got some things to take care of that we want to make sure we give ourselves time to do. And there's nothing immediately threatening as far as severe weather goes. We'll probably wrap up here very shortly, but I do want to stress that it is getting a little interesting here as far as the flood concern goes, because we have got a lot, and I mean a lot of rain just kind of sitting in one spot, not doing anything other than just dumping itself out on one particular plot of land. So that is exactly what we're looking at. Just kind of zoom things back out here, give you one good look. I'll pop up the chat again here, make sure we're not missing anything. Cheryl says just thundering northeast of Mahomet. I think I can hear a couple of bolts of thunder. I can hear a couple rumbles of thunder outside the studio right now. But yeah, I noticed comments are kind of slowing down a little bit. And that's to be expected because there's not too much going on here across the area. But if you are seeing something, please let us know. That way we can get that kind of relayed along there and make sure we are in good shape and are ready to get through the rest of the night here without too much trouble. Checking in again on this storm in northern Vermilion County. Not tons of lightning there on that one, but it hasn't gone down in lightning, I wouldn't say. In lightning, I've got my thing set here in the last 3 hours. Let's just go back to the last hour, kind of loop that. This loop's moving a little faster than what I've been showing here lately, but you can see lightning hasn't exactly increased a bunch, but it hasn't gone down any whatsoever either. So maintaining the same strength on that storm for the moment, but still below severe warned status. So not anything immediately concerning there. As far as classic severe weather impacts like your strong winds, your large hail, maybe a little breezy, but the rain is the biggest thing here that we can actually see happening, at least from our radar products here. We'll clear off the lightning. Maybe something going up here just southeast of Monticello. That's got a little bit of a good look to it there. I will play this loop out a little bit, see how that one's been doing. Again, these are just so up and down in nature. I mean, you had one cell fizzle out immediately and then boom, another one pop up right behind it. So that's just going to be how things are. Might be completely blank where you are at on the radar for the next 10 minutes, and then after that, boom, storm pops up out of nowhere. I mean, this one probably popped up within a matter of the last 5 minutes. It was probably dry as could be there, and then almost magically have a storm pop in. We do have Opie saying sprinkles in Hoopeston, but zero wind. Probably just on the edge of that storm. If I had to guess, if you're not having any wind, there's probably a little bit of a breeze in there. But if you're on the correct side of town, you're probably not seeing too much there. I think maybe the north part of town has dodged the rain here for the most part. But not anybody south of you. Rossville, Henning, Alvin, Bismarck, Potomac, lots and lots of rain. Still seeing that pink in there too. which again is high up in the radar scan, but still worth noting because that means the core of the storm is looking very nice. I'm going to check in on the hail on that one actually, see if anything's gone up there. Last check was about nickel size, kind of that 3/4 of an inch range. So we'll pop that on here real fast. Actually have a little bit of blue there just west of Bismarck, and I do believe that is 1-inch hail as detected by the radar. This is not a silver bullet by any means as far as it knows exactly what's going on, but it's all based on the reflectivity, so it's probably a pretty good guess. Just short of an inch there, so just short of quarter-size hail, but you can definitely see it picking up just a little bit as far as that goes. We'll go back to our radar picture here and just kind of explore what's going on. Again, it's really hard to tell exactly where something's going to happen. I know some people are kind of curious, is it going to rain where I'm at kind of thing. It's one of those things where it's almost impossible to give you a direct answer just because these storms are just so up and down in nature, and they've been popping up randomly wherever they please, and it's kind of just a guessing act at times. The models, as you saw earlier when I showed the future track, kind of tried to show you what was going on. It showed storms popping up, but it didn't have them in the right places at the right time. So that's just kind of how these small scale storms work, and they're just pop up in nature. We're not being tied to any kind of parent storm. I do want to talk about here real quick. We'll kind of let this radar play for just a moment, but I'll kind of get close to wrapping things up here as long as nothing's crazy is going on there in that Vermilion County storm. I just want to talk about some severe weather chances coming up throughout the week for those interested. We actually have 3 days in a row of severe weather chances as far as the Storm Prediction Center outlook is concerned. But really only one day I would say is like a widespread chance. These other days are kind of just these these days where it just kind of depends on how this main system operates, whether or not we're going to get something. So today's risk, as you saw, there's nothing here at home. Even though we did get a severe storm, it does occasionally happen there where it escapes those risk zones. Biggest threat was out there in Kansas. That's kind of where the parent system will say for the upcoming week. That's where it's kind of delivering some action. You see that red color. That's your level 4 out of 5 moderate risk. So that was for today. Let's move to tomorrow. We start to actually see an introduction there to a slight risk in northern Illinois. So that will be a thing to watch. There's kind of 2 separate systems. They're going to be kind of the first system glancing on by and then a second system behind it. Without confusing you too much, this first system is only going to be a Monday thing. The second system is going to be maybe a Monday and a Tuesday thing. So we'll kind of watch for that, kind of bring you through some of the threats that come with tomorrow's severe weather potential. As far as your tornado risk goes, again, the wind profile of the atmosphere is still not going to be terrific to sustain any kind of major storms, but it's going to look a little better than what it did today. So we'll go for about a 2 out of 10 here at the moment, just kind of a broad conditional risk there for some tornado action. What's probably going to happen though is it's less going to be about the tornado threat, more going to be about your damaging wind threat. So maybe 60 to 70 mile an hour gusts with some of those storms up there north of I-74, kind of just hitting parts of McLean, parts of northern Ford, Livingston, and Iroquois counties. That'll be the thing to watch for. To my knowledge, last look here, again, haven't looked here in a little bit, but yeah, the hail risk doesn't look too bad for tomorrow either. So just kind of watching for that wind risk across the area. Let's talk about our Tuesday risk, because that's really the big one to watch for here in the coming week. We'll slip ahead to that real fast while making sure on my other computer here that we're not seeing anything wild and crazy happening. I'm going to peek back in on that Vermilion County storm here in just a moment, but just want to wrap up what we're seeing here for the rest of the week. Enhanced risk across parts of Missouri, Iowa, northwestern Illinois, and kind of southwestern Wisconsin. This will be for Tuesday, actually the nighttime period. The good thing is most models are saying this is going to be the worst to our west, but we're still going to get in on something here because we'll still have a lot of that unstable air to move on in. I'll zoom in here. I'll pull up a different version of the same graphic for Tuesday, and you'll see exactly where the risk is for where you live. We've got 3 different colors here, so vastly different results. West of I-55, that enhanced risk is in play, mainly for strong winds. Slight risk, the exact same kind of situation, except the storm's going to be kind of losing its intensity as it moves south and east, and then same with that marginal risk. So what exactly does that look like? Well, we'll show you here real quick. I'm going to pull up one of my models here that had been kind of keeping things a little light for this Tuesday risk. This morning, we'll kind of see what it's doing right now. We'll just kind of skip ahead. Tomorrow, could see a few of these storm clusters move on through. Strong winds, kind of the main risk with that. But I want to talk about Tuesday because it's going to be the exact same form. Might have some of that morning storm activity, but most of the day Tuesday. Going to be completely dry, not going to have to worry about anything. It's when the sun sets that all of a sudden we need to be on high alert. This model kind of underselling it. I wish some of our high resolution models have not been doing fantastic as far as showing us exactly what I think has the potential of happening here. Some of these storms. Jacob Dickey, what time will it hit your house? That's a good question. How about you pull up some stuff on your computer and you tell me when it's going to hit your house. You can be one of the first people that have, in the comments, told me when it's going to actually rain at their place. That'd be really cool. Okay, let's talk about, again, there's your Monday chance. Strong winds, mainly with that one, mainly in northern Illinois. We'll see if this model shows much going on Tuesday night. And yeah, this one's doing a little bit better of a job. We're going to have a kind of a squall line across the plains, kind of moving into the Midwest Tuesday afternoon. But by the time it gets here, it's going to be nighttime. We're going to hit past 9 or 10 p.m. And the storm's going to kind of cluster together, going to form more of a line. And when that happens, it's mainly a wind threat. So as that kind of sweeps through, will it be coming down in intensity a little bit? I'll talk about that in a sec. When it comes down in intensity, it could as it gets here, but it's still going to hold its form pretty good. That's why you see, you know, an enhanced risk west of I-55 because it still looks pretty good. Then you get east of I-55 and all of a sudden it's starting to collapse a little bit. And then as it gets on out there, maybe it kind of runs out of steam and does not bring quite the risk for it. Want to show one graphic here real fast and we'll pop back to our current radar image. But this is for Tuesday after 10 p.m. Could go till 4 a.m. for a few spots, so kind of an awkward time of the night. Just make sure you have some alerts there to wake you up. Weather radio, weather call, the new service, obviously that's a very good one too. And WCI Weather app, you can have, of course, the ringer on. That'll notify you just anything that can wake you up because you might need it there with the risk at play. Strong winds is going to be the main thing to watch. I'd say 70+ miles an hour definitely possible here. There's been kind of talks within the weather community. Maybe we see some sort of derecho with this storm, but that might not be the big thing that we saw last year. That's going to be off to our west. I think the most intense part of the storm is going to be off to our west. Parts of the western part of the area could get in on that super strong wind action, but as it comes through, it should start to kind of waver just a little bit, trend a little bit towards the lower side of things. That tornado risk is going to be there. Can't completely narrow in on that when it's an event that's still 2+ days away, but the risk is definitely going to be there. Not too concerned about hail, not super concerned about the rain with that one, but the winds and the tornado threat will be there. The wind more so than the tornado threat, but anytime you have a line segment like that, you can have some of those embedded, those QLCS tornadoes even, a few circulations popping in. So last check your radar here. And I say last check because we're probably going to wrap some things up. Again, we don't have a newscast here. It would have been on 7 minutes ago if there was one. But we still have some work we need to do here in the studio. Even on days where we don't have a newscast, we still need to kind of go through some stuff and make sure we are ready to go for the evening stuff. And with no current severe storms out there, there's really not an urgent need to stay on here. There's plenty of rain in northern Vermilion County, but those of you that have been here long enough know about that here at this point. The rain's not really going anywhere, so there's only so much we can say. There's only so much going on. We'll, of course, keep an eye on things. I'll still provide some updates on my Facebook if you want to check in on that. You can probably also look at Jacob's as well. He's usually pretty good at staying on top of these things. And if there is a warning, you'll get notified on our pages. If you have any kind of service set up, it'll notify you there, and we'll, of course, hop right back on if that's the case. But just kind of one final check here. A few of these pop-up storms still floating around, a lot of them kind of going up and down in nature, pulsing up, pulsing back down. Not too much concern really anywhere in the area outside of that Vermilion County storm. The only other place I'd say to kind of keep an eye out for is that eastern Piatt County one, kind of drifting in Champaign, but even it's kind of losing some of its luster there. So we'll look at this Vermilion County storm one last time here before we go. We'll put things in the right now. We'll pop on some lightning there. See, again, this thing's still really kind of holding itself together. So parts of Bismarck up into Hoopeston, Rossville, Potomac. You've been in that core for quite some time right now. So that definitely a little bit of concern here as far as your rainfall potential goes. Hail sizes came up there just a little bit. I don't think it'll be anything super impressive now. Let's pull that up here real quick, though. Probably going to have some light gray. Yep, that light gray probably equates to 3/4 of an inch. Check out here. Yeah, about 8/10 of an inch. So Still a little bit of that small hail. It'll be kind of annoying to listen to that hit off the roof here for the next couple of hours. But that's just kind of the way things are going to be. And my final note here before we wrap up is going to be the rain potential here. We've seen plenty of it so far. I'm going to bring up the 3-hour rainfall totals one last time, and you will see some pretty wild numbers. Even though this storm in Piatt County is pretty much wrapped up, this is what has potential to happen there in Vermilion County. You actually have flood advisories out that direction here for the next couple of hours. That's what could end up happening if things play out the way this one near D-Land did. 5 inches. 5 inches of rain in about 2.5 hours. So that is completely wild to have that happen that quickly. All these other storms, the exact same thing. Is it raining super hard in them? I wouldn't say super hard. It's raining hard, but it's just sitting still. It's going nowhere, these storms are, and that's what's allowed them to just get some of these unbelievable rainfall numbers in a short amount of time. 2.5 inches in northern Champaign, parts of Rantoul, just outside of Mahomet, Fisher as well, and the one in northern Vermilion County, parts of Rossville, Potomac, Hoopeston again, Bismarck. You are now seeing your own high rainfall totals too, somewhere between 1.5 even up to 3 inches there in a couple spots. So be mindful of that. Could see some of those flat roads, some of those low-lying roads flood here in a little bit. But that's really the only thing to watch for here right now. I would say these storms don't look like they're going to magically gain some strength here. I think we saw kind of the peak of the actual severe weather impacts there at about 4:30 or 5 o'clock. And now things are kind of flattening down a little bit. If that changes, we'll let you know. But if you are not in northern Vermilion County, just expect, if you get any rain at all, kind of a mild storm. But aside from that, most of the area is fine right now. So there's not too much need to worry or panic about anything, particularly for south of I-72. Effingham, Shelbyville, Mattoon, Charleston, probably don't have much to worry about. Same with the far western part of the area, Taylorville, not too much going on there. The Springfield one, then one north of you, pretty much come down. So keep an eye out for things here in the next couple of hours. But aside from that, there's probably not going to be too much change here. And if there is, we'll, of course, let you know. So that's kind of been a check of your evening storms here as we wrap things up on the weekend. Get ready to head into what could be a busy week. Watch for those severe weather chances here the next 3 days, mainly keying in on Tuesday. But, of course, that's what we'll bring you updates on here. We're going to start combing through our weather data and taking a look at what's to come here in the coming week. But until then, we'll probably wrap things up here. Thank you all again for watching, and stay safe out there. And we will see you tonight at 9 o'clock on WCIX for your Channel 49 news, and again at 10 o'clock for your WCIA news at 10. All right,